Hi everyone, welcome to plant dot point P16. For this one we need to explain how plant breeding is used to develop new plant varieties and improve product quality, yield and environmental adaptation. So this dot point is a follow-on from the previous one, which looked at plant breeding and the genetic basis for plant breeding. However, this is looking specifically at the reason that we do it rather than how we do it. It's a pretty straightforward dot point. So like I said, the three things we're going to look at are quality, yield, and environmental adaptation. And these are three examples which I have chosen for us to do. And so the quality, we're looking at Mackellar wheat. Yield, we're looking at BT cotton. And environmental adaptation, we're looking at Drysdale wheat. So if we have a look here at the information, this is basically the whole dot point, and it's an explain dot point. So you need to show cause and effect with an example, and I've given you cause, effect, and examples here. So first of all, quality. The example is Mackellar wheat, and basically CSIRO, or the Australian Government Scientific Research Organisation, which is CSIRO, have worked with Chinese researchers and crossed some wild grasses with existing varieties of wheat, and basically the wild grasses have a natural resistance to the yellow dwarf virus. So this is the example of the effect here. So they've developed a variety that's resistant. So the wheat has taken on traits of the wild grasses, and those traits are being resistant to yellow dwarf virus, and so it allows the quality of the grain to be maintained despite the presence of the virus. So normally with wheat, if the yellow dwarf virus is present, the wheat will produce poor quality grain, but the gene from the wild grass has allowed it to maintain the quality. So the example here of quality is Mackellar wheat. The example for yield is BT cotton, and BT cotton is an important example to know about because it's going to be something we talk about later. So BT cotton stands for Bacillus thuringiensis, which is the name of a soil bacteria which produces a toxin which kills the bollworm or the Heliothis caterpillar. And basically the Heliothis caterpillar will eat out the boll of the cotton and also the leaf around it. So when it eats the leaf, obviously that is reducing the amount of photosynthesis that happens, and therefore that's obviously going to reduce the NAR and therefore the yield. Also, the Heliothis caterpillar actually eats, it burrows its way into the boll and eats the cotton that is growing, so that obviously also decreases the yield. So what companies have done, or Monsanto, which owns the patent to BT cotton, which is a genetically modified crop. It's also known as Bollgard. There's Bollgard 1, Bollgard 2 is currently in existence, and Bollgard 3 is being experimented with and tested at the moment. And basically what happened is scientists took cotton plants and they took genes out of this Bacillus thuringiensis, which is in the soil naturally, and it produces a toxin which kills the Heliothis caterpillar. And so obviously normal cotton was subject to this, and the Heliothis was a significant pest. Some farmers would spray kind of 15 to 20 chemical sprays, pesticide sprays per season to ensure that the Heliothis was reduced, because it was a really big problem. So obviously, as we said, the reduction in leaf area leads to reduction in photosynthesis and therefore lower yields. And it's a naturally occurring bacterial gene. This is Bacillus thuringiensis, and it produces a toxin in the green tissue of the plant, and it was genetically introduced into the cotton plant. And so the toxin that's now produced in the leaf kills the Heliothis moth when it attacks the plant, and it obviously reduces the damage to the plant and increases the yield or prevents it from being decreased due to the Heliothis. And so this is an important statistic here. I think this stat is, it's possibly a little bit higher than this, but 80 to 90% reduction in pesticide usage because of this genetically modified crop. So it's improving the yield while decreasing the pesticide usage. For an environmental adaptation, we have Drysdale wheat, which is another example, and it's an Australian species of wheat, and it was crossed with an ancient Persian variety of wheat. And now when you think about the Persian region historically. I'm guessing you think about hot and dry kind of climate, and so obviously the varieties of wheat that would have grown in that area would be well adapted to having a limited amount of water and probably hot and dry conditions as well. So basically we crossed, or scientists crossed, plant breeders, crossed the Australian species of wheat with a Persian variety of wheat, and that led to a variety which is better at its water use efficiency, so it's more highly water efficient, and it allows greater yield from crossbred cultivar in drought conditions or low rainfall areas in Australia. So you're getting 10% higher yield in drought conditions. So the key environmental adaptation is that it can survive and still produce during a drought, which is an environmental adaptation. If we look at these two past questions, the first one, they're similar really, but the first one says, explain using examples why plant breeding programs are necessary. So this is not talking about how the plant breeding happens, which is the previous dot point P15, but it's saying why are they necessary? Why do we actually need to do it? Which is exactly what this dot point is about. So we need to, plant breeding programs are used to improve characteristics such as yield, quality, and environmental adaptations. And because it says examples, we need to give two. So for example, BT cotton, that's the example, it's nice to underline it, has been genetically modified to include the toxin producing soil bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, which kills the bollworm and prevents it from eating leaves and reducing photosynthesis, therefore increasing the NAR/yield. McKellar wheat has crossed Australian varieties of wheat with wild grasses by the CSIRO to help maintain quality. So this is the key thing here. Despite the presence of yellow dwarf virus, which it is resistant to. So I've explained, I've given two examples, and I've shown why we need plant breeding. Not how it's done, but why it's needed. In this case, it says, how can the modification of one plant characteristic improve crop production? It's a kind of similar question to this one, except it just says one. So clearly you should not write about two because you won't be doing enough detail. So the answer is the modification of environmental characteristics, such as with Drysdale wheat, has improved yields by 10% in low rainfall areas. This was done by crossing an Australian species of wheat with a Persian variety, which was more drought tolerant, leading to yield gain through environmental adaptation. So that is one way of answering that question.